Miguel, el bebé es tuyo.
No, mentirosa.
No.
El bebé es de José, yo lo sé, me lo...
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Motor City Metrics podcast here at TigersMLReport.com. I am Rohel Exil. Alongside me is Uper. Chris Brown should be along shortly. And you can find us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it be Spotify, iHeartMedia. There's been several like Android-based stuff too. So, and if you plan on donating to the show tonight, please donate to the link. I'm going to put this in the comment section because YouTube's continuously takes a good chunk of it now, apparently, and also just like some of the money we generate for the MLB draft show. For whatever reason, I won't get till next month. We will not get till next month, and it's pretty annoying. Yes, it's very frustrating too because just the amount of like you have to have a certain threshold for YouTube and all these BS rules. So.
The man's always out to get you.
Oh, the man's always out to get us. So yeah, if you just donate to the PayPal, it goes right to us right away. There's no nothing. There's just no wait for it and all that jazz. But yes, that was a Ninja Bee. So yes, it was one of those things where the trade rumors are getting hot and heavy. We'll address all those there in a second. Tigers split a series with Cleveland, and yep, it was an amazing finish to the end of the Whitecaps game. We'll get to that as well with Max Clark and Kevin McGonigal heading to West Michigan.
Nice.
The Tigers deciding that the bullpen games are the way to go, and it did pay off. And so that's a strategy I'm just kind of curious about towards the end of the season as the arms are kind of, I don't know, they're tempting fate a little bit, but we'll see how it's going to pay off. They start a 3-game series with the Twins starting tomorrow. There's going to be the draft picks are going to be in town. So that will be Bruce Rayner. Wow. Bryce Rayner will be on hand along with a couple others down at the ballpark on Friday. I am going to the most likely or possibly the last Jackson Jobe start in Erie. I'm not, again, there's pretty much, I think he's going to go to Toledo. And I think I wish Chris was here right now to explain it. I think it's after August 15th. Tigers can call him up without any type of, he can still win Rookie of the Year next year. So,
right.
But yeah, well, Max Clark did have a great game. There was a lot of cool things going on with that. And just like I said, he went 3 for 5 on the day with the triple, a couple singles and 4 RBIs. And then he scored the walk-off run on a balk. So that's not something you see every day. And yeah, that's a good way to start your high A career.
Did you see it? Was he jumping around trying to draw the balk?
No, I saw the balk, but I didn't know if he was jump around or not. So I think that would be more Chris. I actually didn't finish my work day until like 8:00, something like that.
Thanks.
So yeah, there's a lot of things going on at the day job right now that are just a little bit chaotic. But let's just talk about the series at hand, the Tigers and the Guardians. And Javi Baez came out of nowhere and remember like giving us the sign that he is still here. And there was a quote afterwards. He said it felt like it was his first home run ever. And it did feel that way. He has been absolute 100% garbage. You can't sugarcoat it. You can't sugarcoat what he's been over since he came back from the injury list.
Yeah, you can't blame him if he feels like it's been forever because it has been. April 14th is a long time and a lot of at-bats ago and an IL visit and the whole deal. Just the number of balls, if you think back over the last month or so, the number of balls, you can literally say that he scorched to such a low number. But he got the hanger today, and he must have been looking for it, and he crushed it. And it was a good thing because that's all our scoring they did on the day. And that's one thing with in this series now. The offense, they split, and that's great. We'll take that on the road against the Guardians. But I think 3 games now of that series, they scored in 1 inning again. So they kind of got into some of the habits that from the bad days of June of not consistently putting up runs and getting some rallies started. But they walked away with a win, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, and Chris, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about with this, with all these bullpen games too, is that aren't you really kind of running the gauntlet of kind of? I think the Tigers are, among the top 3 in bullpen usage this year, I believe.
I don't know about that off the top of my head, but yeah, I mean that's no way to live when you're doing bullpen games twice a week, and they've got another one on Sunday, I think, right? Like, I mean, this isn't the 1920s, right? Three-man rotations don't work anymore.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, you can't ask for a better outcome than today. Obviously, they used 5 different pitchers, and they all did a really good job. And I think that was probably almost exactly the way Hinch mapped it out. He was like, okay, we can get 2 from this guy, 2 from this guy, 2 from this guy. Easton Lucas came out there and looked outstanding out of nowhere. But yeah, you can't rely on that. It's fun to match up, but things go completely south if 1 or 2 of your bullpen arms blows up, and that will happen the more often you do this.
I didn't know Easton Lucas could come in there pumping 96. That was new to me. I did not know this.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's only the second time we've seen him pitch, or is it the first time we've seen him pitch? He came up before, but I don't think they pitched him, right?
Well, he pitched a couple nights ago. That first game in Cleveland, I don't even know if he got anybody out. 1 out. Yeah. He got 1 guy out. But
right. He walked a couple of guys too, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah,
he did. We were broadcasting, so I wouldn't watch him actually when it was happening, and then they brought in Chafin and got the win. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, they claimed him for a reason, right? And you saw it there. It was a good lefty velo and a pretty interesting cutter. So get the pitching staff here some good arms and see what they could do. But again, yeah, they're going to have to figure out something. And it's unfortunately it doesn't seem to be the one very obvious move that would be fun and enjoyable and smart and good.
Yeah, or even for that matter, I mean, the Lyle Lockhart tonight, Lyle Lockhart Jr. pitched a beauty. As let me see, I have the final line here.
That one just ended too.
Yeah, that one just ended. So let's see here. 6 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts. That's him basically saying, "Hey, mother."
Yeah,
let's go.
That's a great audition. I would say that when we talked about it, he seems to be the guy to come up.
Josh us out here as this is the STL Tigers celebrating a cup. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was funny enough. One of my segments was going to be about that squad.
It still could be your squad.
Yeah, it still will be because I'm scrambling here to still get them done.
Oh, I am too. Trust me. There's a couple of them done. So
there was suddenly an awful lot of things happening on the minor league front right when the show was about to start. You got a Erie walk-off win. We got Max Clark with a game-tying triple, and then a walk-off win.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to get all those out there.
You know what? Let's might as well let's just play them all because everybody just keeps talking about it, and I don't want to delay it's not that I want to delay it or anything. I just honestly that's why the show was delayed a few minutes earlier because I was trying to looking at things. I was trying to scramble too much. And that's what happens when you work till 8:00 and then you have things on in the background. And so you can't really focus on what you really want to do. Let's see here. We're going to share the screen here. So let's start with the Max Clark walk-off, shall we?
0-2 Anderson. Time. It's a balk by Hunter Bro. Max Clark scores. And that's how we end a miracle comeback here in West Michigan. It's a balk-off. 5-4 Whitecaps.
What did he do?
It looked like he didn't come to arrest. I don't know. That's the best I could determine.
Yeah. Had to be. I didn't see anything.
Didn't see anything. Yeah, it didn't.
Nobody.
Yeah, I didn't.
But yeah, kind of cool. Backoff is awesome. But it's nice to see him get a triple extra base hit off to a decent start. Pretty nice.
Let me get the triple that he hit earlier too. That was a good piece of hitting too. That was. beautiful. Again, Clark
Yeah.
already kind of making his impact known, and that's where fans could be excited about that. Although I will say John Gonzalez has me. I said July 2025 would make his debut, and I made that debut. I guess that as well, they're not realizing back then that the Tigers are rather conservative with their call ups or everything. So I was thinking maybe after a trade deadline or something that he might call up. But
all the Major League Baseball.
There we go. Here's
Find
the triple
pitch to drive.
Max Clark.
Clark down the right field line. It's a fair ball to the corner. Serretti scores. Patrick Lee is in. It's a triple for Max Clark. Max Magic with 2 outs in the ninth.
You know what?
We're tied at 4.
You know what? Hasty has not. Hasty's had a rough year in terms of, getting. Yeah. I'm not. Yeah.
It's been Jaden Ham and basically nothing else. So they're having some fun with that for sure. And yeah, I mean, Max Clark, all 4 RBIs before scoring the game-winning run. It's probably an early highlight in his career for sure.
Swinging a ground ball up the middle, base hit to center field. Mount Jerry scores. Here comes Mendoza. Ciani winds up and throws to the plate. It's not in time.
Down in front.
Erie wins it.
Get
5 for the final. A bases loaded. 2-run single up the middle from Gage Workman. And the Seawolves down to their final out.
Yeah, and before that, Eliezer
that
Alfonso.
must be a
Sorry, I was just saying that Alfonso hit a game-tying 2-run homer with when they were down to their final out in the ninth. So yeah, it was a fun night for sure.
Absolutely. That must be just a total injection of adrenaline for Hasty now to get those guys in the lineup compared to who he was calling before this. That's pretty cool for him. Tell me this, you guys. What do you think? Faster from first to third, Parker Meadows or Max Clark?
Oh boy, I think it's probably still Meadows, but Clark got there awfully quickly, right? He's very fast. It's but Meadows is fast and has alien legs. It's like there in an instant. But yeah, it would be fun to see them race for sure.
So there's plenty to go on with that too, and I know you were out there the other day, Chris, with Jerry. I couldn't go out there, and it was so electric. But it was funny. I guess was it Dan saw you coming in? Was like, I knew you'd be here.
Yeah, I wanted to get there early enough to catch infield and batting practice, but I still couldn't. But I was able to get there. I was a good 2.5 hours early, and as I was parking, Hasty was walking in, and I just kind of did the old. I reached my hand out the window and shook my fist at him and yelled something random. He said, "Oh, I knew you guys would be here."
Yes, Digital Ninja Bees. I know Mills is hurt. Yes,
he's
we
running.
can also be like a hypothetical thing, or maybe when he's fully healed.
He's running right now.
Digital Ninja Bees.
Don't be so damn literal.
Yeah, jeez, oh Pete. No, and no one's claimed Paxton yet, by the way. So not that I've seen. So, but yeah, let's start with the trade rumors. So the Tigers are definitely going to move Flaherty. To what team? We don't know. I know Chris yesterday may have sent some people in Discord in a tizzy or scared a little bit with Flaherty. You mentioned, so during the day, I have to have my notifications turned off because just the amount of times where, I'm on computers all day. It kind of sucks after a while. But anyway, so I have to have the Discord turned off and then I'll go back on and, things. And today was the first day I was able to go on a day. But so you're talking about Flaherty's velocity being down.
Just, it was down slightly, but it didn't really hamper his effectiveness at all, did it?
Yeah. See, that's the difference. That's the Clark McGonagall difference right there. They're going to be packing up the house over there. I mean, they're going to be used to playing in bigger crowds. I hate to say about Lakeland, but there's nobody that goes to Lakeland games.
I think
sad. Except for Sherry.
I think Thursday might also be like Thirsty Thursday, Thrifty Thursdays there at West Michigan, which always helps.
Yeah,
cheap beer.
Is it usually, or every time they go though, you have the volleyball though, right? The volleyball is like in full effect.
There. And they had, I think, dueling pianos or singing something going on tonight. But.
Yeah. Well, so Flaherty. So I did do a trade package where I mentioned what's up. Oh, I thought somebody said something. Yeah, so Flaherty to the Dodgers, Flaherty to the Phillies, like there's numerous places where he can land. But of course, you have Eric Feedy, Jameson Talon's out there, Kirk O'Shea's out there. Apparently, the Braves, Cardinals, and Astros are interested in Zach Eflin. What's the gentleman's name?
Eflin, yeah.
Tampa?
Eflin, yeah, not, yeah. Zach Eflin's the guy from
yeah,
High School Musical.
that wrestling thing, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, Zach, he was High School Musical, yeah. So, no, the Dodger. Wait a minute, Flaherty. I don't think Dalton Rush is the Dodgers' number one prospect. So, I mean, Dalton Rush is.
He is to some places. He is their number one ranked prospect. You can get in debate over who they're like. You know, they have more talented guys, probably a little bit younger, but haven't been quite as proven. But yeah, depending on where you look, he's like a top 30 prospect or a top 50 prospect or a top 100 prospect.
Oh, okay, no, because you're saying it's like number one prospect, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I know that there was a whole. I know MLB Pipeline has him as the number one, but MLB Pipeline's also it's just.
Well, they,
you know,
they're about to do their update. They don't really update. They do their top 30, and then they'll take guys out and add guys in, but they don't change the rankings at all until now. So you've got 4 months of minor league action to see and see where guys change, and so that's how Lockhart wasn't on their top 30, and then he popped in at like 21 because there was somebody graduated. I think it was Malloy graduated, and they put him in finally.
Yeah, I mean, look at Diego. I mean, the Dodgers have catching depth for days. It's not like it's not. It's in this. If you're going to, like an example, they have Junior Fernandez. They also have, I believe it's Diego Cartaya, who's already in AAA, a level, may I say, higher than rushing. So, I mean, it's let's see, Flaherty and Milner to the Dodgers for Frasso, Cobb, Kyle Hurt.
Bunch of injured pitchers.
Yeah, bunch of injured pitchers. No, I'm good. Thank you. I mean, a guy like, if you're going to throw like somebody like that, then I don't know. There's so many different ways to go, like, look at this trade deadline. But look, I personally think that he ends up going to, I think they're going to go with a team they're familiar with, like the Phillies or something like that. I mean, a third team could be surprised, but I'll start with you, Uper. Where do you think he ends up going?
Well, obviously, they were saying on MLB Net today, there are basically, in their opinion, 8 teams who are selling and 22 are buying, right? So it should be a good market for Detroit. You listed some of the pitchers who are out there. I think Chris Bassett's another one. He's got a year left to control, though. But a lot of people think he'll be put out there. So, what does that market look like? It's hard to say, but I've been looking at Atlanta. They have Max Fried, neuritis in his UCL, his forearm. That doesn't sound great. I wouldn't out there looking for a pitcher. And the prospect who's kind of in the middle of their top 10, I don't know if he's too good for them to get for Flaherty, but Nacho Alvarez, the shortstop, that could be somebody who would fit into the Detroit system pretty nicely. I just think Detroit should be able to get a more robust market for Flaherty than they had for Lorenzen, for instance. He's a better pitcher right now. And they have the hammer on these teams. They don't have to trade him. I know they want to trade him, and it's been kind of put out there that they're going to, but they have that draft pick option to do the qualifying offer, and there's nothing wrong with that. If they end up going that route, I mean, if they end up with the 33rd pick or something, that's a pretty good win for that 1-year signing too.
No, I mean, there's, you could trust the Tigers development system to I would trust them now more than ever. But, by the way, I was told that I need to share this immediately. So I apologize for stopping the flow of the podcast for just a moment, but Kyle in the Discord wanted me to share this as soon as I saw this. So I'm already laughing because I already saw the result of this.
Bob Page or Bob,
beer lines open until 9:30. The beer line's open till 9:30.
Bob
the
Wells.
Beer line's open till 9:30.
Very nice. Max Clark is digging being back in the Midwest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
These are his people.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, man. All right. So Toronto said no to Bassett and Gosman, but of course, leverage, things could change. So Chris, where are you going to go with? Who do you think?
Man, to Youp's point, I think that the beauty of this is that there are probably 10 suitors for Flaherty easily. And somebody's going to pay more than you would expect, I would think, unless the Tigers are asking for, ridiculous returns again, which may happen. We don't know. We've heard the rumors. But yeah, I could see Philly. I could see the Yankees. I could see the Mets. I could see Houston. I could see Milwaukee. I could see the Dodgers. I could see the Giants. I could see the Padres. There are tons of different options. So I think the Tigers are going to have their pick of some decent prospects for this. Maybe it's not a Dalton Rushing, but maybe it's somebody who grows into that in time.
For me, a package I mentioned too was the Phillies. The Phillies have a couple pitchers that are not in their top 30, or like in terms of rankings that are rising up pretty quickly. We're having good years, and Dave Dombrowski is essentially and I had a really interesting talk with somebody today that I'm not going to say who I had talked to, but knows Gary and Dave Dombrowski. Well, I know a guy named Gary. No one knows. Yeah, dude. Unless people really know who I am, or people know who I talk to on a daily basis. Anyway, he was telling me something like, expect Dombrowski to make a trade. He's not going to make a trade. Josh in the chat says that the D-backs traded for AJ Puck for the Marlins.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Well, the Marlins, it's a free for all. So it's just gonna expect Jad Chisholm.
Yeah, I just did publish. I haven't actually gone through and edited it, so there might be some mistakes in there. But I published on the minor league site the piece about other trades the Tigers could make that don't involve Skubal and Flaherty. And the big one there that I've hinted at in the Discord or whatever is trading Jace Young to Miami for Edward Cabrera.
I like that idea. I really like that idea, Chris. That was one of those ideas that you came up with, and I was like, genius.
Well, and not to spoil it too much, but I don't know if I've already talked about this, so I apologize. But the basic idea is that this thing the Tigers are doing is great, where they fix a pitcher and then they trade him for stuff. But why not do it and then fix the pitcher and keep him for 3 years, and do it with the one area where you have prospect depth, which is second base. You can, if you really love Jace Young, you can, force Colt Keith back to first base and have, your future left side of the infield hitting a bunch of left-handed bombs and walking and all that good stuff. But you've also, Colt Keith isn't an abomination there. He probably can get better, maybe not forever, but you've got Hyu Lee behind him. You've got Kevin McGonigal behind him. You've got some second base options down the road too.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, and I came up with this before everybody, before all the pitchers died. So it wasn't like, hey, we need a pitcher right now. It was like, hey, they could use a power-armed guy who they could try to fix and develop into a starter. He could become a bullpen guy. He's got 3 years of team control remaining. So it's, I don't know. He might not be the ideal option for that. He's had some injury issues, but something like that, a trade like that, where you're trading from your little bit of prospect depth to actually help the big league club for once.
Yeah, no, and the Tigers really don't do that. Yooper, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it sounds like a very, an idea that's worth looking into. I'm trying to think of other teams that have done it, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be done, even if it hasn't been done very often, because he is a good arm. People know it. How many times have we seen the articles or the clippings that he's had a good outing and, hey, is this guy on track? He's a big talent. So, I'm always in favor of creative ways to increase the talent base. That's for sure.
Outside of Blake Cole, the trade, that was trading depth that they had for Mark Canha, which made sense. And that was the move right now, because at the same time, now you look at it and go, well, in retrospect, it was still the right move to make, because had they not got Mark Canha, you wouldn't be able to sit down with Spencer Torkelson. And somebody in our Twitter chat, I won't say names, said that if they trade Canha, expect Torkelson to be recalled up, and I just don't see why. He has struggled in July.
I would think
Might have-
Valade.
Yeah.
Honestly, Valade did nothing to not stay up here, really.
Yeah.
He can play a little first base. He's right-handed. Yeah, I don't know. That's a
Hey,
Ooh,
Torkels has
David.
been on base at least twice, 4 games in a row now. And I'm kidding about it. I'm not.
No,
I'm
I
not
know you weren't. I know you weren't serious about that, but because you couldn't say it with a straight face and finish your sentence there. So as far as like the return on the puck return, AJ Puck, the Rays are sending over. Wow, De Los Santos.
Davis
I
and
mean-
De Los Santos. Yep.
But then again, like I said, here's the thing: I don't trust those numbers because it's Pacific Coast League, folks. I'm sorry. I mean, you're playing Reno, where I'm not sure exactly the anything Pacific Coast League. I'm always going to look at this with the eyebrow raised, or I can't do it right now. Like, I'm just gonna look at it like give it a skeptical look.
You know, I mean, I feel like the Marlins never learn. I know it's a different front office, right? And not that Puck was anything great, right? He was. They tried to start him. It was a disaster again. He's a good reliever. De Los Santos, I think, didn't Cleveland take him in the Rule 5 and then have to
Correct.
give him back?
Yes.
Because he's got monster power. He had a huge Arizona Fall League, I think, or maybe no, he was a disaster in the Fall League. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was spring training. He had a really good spring training.
Yeah.
Remember, he was hitting the ball. Yeah, go ahead.
He's tons of power, but he does strike me as one of those guys who's just not going to hit enough. And I know the numbers suggest that he will in the minors, but everything I've read about him is like, no, it's going to be power, and he's not going to hit. And I mean, that's a worthy, if I'm the Marlins, I take a shot on it, but it feels like, Lewis Brinson, Money Harrison type trade all over again, where you're taking this, huge boomer bust guy, and the odds are that he's going to bust.
Oh, Steven, yeah, you know what? That's right. It has been an organization sweep. Awesome. So you know what? I'm going to play this, even though we only played for Super Chats.
Exquisite.
Now, does it count when the DSL Tigers team beats the other DSL Tigers team?
Sure.
Yes.
All right, fair enough.
We make our own rules.
Yeah, victory all around. There was no tie. There was, so technically everybody wins. So, I mean, look, Torque doesn't need to be in the big leagues because he's not doing anything in Toledo. I'm sorry, Troy. Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers closely. And yes, Paez doesn't do anything either. But the Tigers don't really have an option right now outside of Baez. Stan wants to know why you're being a party pooper.
Who is?
You
Which party am I pooping on?
Oh, because of the DSL comment, I think.
Oh, sorry, gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's, but yeah, Baez hit and Fernandez mentioned he won the game today.
Yeah, and if the Tigers had an option on Baez, they would have done it a long time ago. He would have been on the same bus as Torkelson, but they didn't. They can't do it. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I like Chris's idea of bringing back up Ryan
Valade?
Yeah, Valade. Thank you. Sorry. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, bring up Brian Valade. He's not making the adjustments. Torkelson's not doing what the organization has to do. He's growing a sweet stash, apparently. I mean, if I guess it depends on who you ask, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, he's gotten a homer and a couple of doubles lately. Let's hope he builds. I mean, all we can do is hope he builds on it, right? I mean, maybe he will, but he doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve the callback now. He didn't do.
Although,
48.
you know who deserves a call? I mean, there's going to be the Stokes. The Flames are rising for Dylan Dingler. It was Chris put up yesterday or sent me a text. I was like, he's 6 for 7. He was 6 for 7 in 2 games, just monstrous. And Louisville blows. I mean, Louisville is not a really good team this year, but still, I mean, he just took advantage of just pounding the ball with just fury and anger. And so we did that. Okay, so sorry, I'm reading the chat. I'm gonna put the chat away because I'm getting distracted and it's throwing me off a little bit. So whoever wants to keep track of the chat between you two, go ahead. That's fine. Yeah. So as far as like draft, we can talk about the draft picks that were signed too. We'll get to that as well. But no, it is a thing where I think as far as Dingler goes, the week he's having, whether the next part of the trade, whether Carson Kelly or Jake Rogers gets moved, I don't. The more I think about it, I think unless Carson Kelly gets traded for guys they really like, I don't see Carson Kelly going anywhere. What do you guys think?
Well,
Wouldn't be in a rush to move him. I think he's played good baseball for them ever since even last fall when they picked him up for nothing. I thought he played really good defense for those 6-8 weeks, and this year he's a good defender. He's hitting better. Yeah, they should put a decent little price on him. Hope they get something, but otherwise, I could see them keep him around. Can any of those guys play first base?
You would think so. I mean, they got good hands, right? No. So Kelly's the opposite, right, of Flaherty in that I don't know how many teams out there really need catching right now. I mean, he was another trade that I did. We spoil the whole article here, or you could go to Tigers Minor League Report while I'm talking about this. But I sent Kelly and Andrew Chafin to the Rangers, who don't feel like they should be buying necessarily. They're basically the same record as the Tigers, but they're only like 3 games out because the AL West is somehow bad this year.
Yeah.
And their weaknesses are strange. They, Jonah Heim was awesome the last 2 years, but he's been really rough this year. And their backup, Andrew Knizner, is another former Cardinals catcher, has been terrible. So they could really use someone like Kelly just to just help them get some production from that spot. And they're one of the worst teams against left-handed hitters in baseball this year. They only have one left-handed reliever. I don't know if you guys remember when they came to town, Hinch was having a field day because Bochy only had one lefty reliever. So Hinch was like, pinch hitting guys left and right. So they could really use Andrew Chafin. So that would be one spot for those two. But I don't know if I think the Rangers are kind of in a holding pattern right now. If they play well over the next 5 days, they may go for it. If they don't, then they may sell. So that's tough. I mean, there are other places that could use a backup catcher. I mentioned, I think Seattle, because Cal Raleig's very good, but they don't really have a great backup there. And other places like, anybody could use a good backup, even though Kelly's playing like a good starter.
So Dylan Dingler, I was looking at some numbers last night compared to what he did in AAA last year. His strikeout rate's down to what, like 5-6 points, from 27% to 21% or something like that. BABIP about the same, no big fluctuation, driving a lot of this success. You would think that given where the team is, especially if they sell some pitching, they could bring him up and even carry 3 catchers if one of them could play first base a little once in a while.
Sparky Anderson style.
Yeah. I mean, they might have to get rid of somebody else, maybe they end up dealing away Urshela or something at the deadline for something. Somebody just needs a defender. Who knows? Or Andy Ibanez. I mean, there should be some, somebody wants a lefty masher like him too.
I mean, Lefty Bonds. We can't get rid of Lefty Bonds, Uber. I mean, Tigers can't do that. I'd rather. It's almost like guarantee he'll do something at the play with lefties. You need that, especially down the stretch. I mean, I think the one goal the Tigers should thrive for, if they're not going to make the postseason, is to get to 500 and get over 500. If they finish the season over 500, then it's a small step towards next year. I sound like some sort of like very okay, kids, like little small goal with that, but in reality, I think based off the way the season has been with the injuries, with everything like that, if the Tigers finish over 500, it'll probably be one of the best jobs that EJ Hinch has ever done with this lineup. Considering he's been limited at first, he's been limited with injuries. There's been a lot of injuries this year. And so I think if you get him over 500 at the end of the season, it's a damn miracle. All right, let's go inside the numbers. I do like Kyle's point here, though. What he said here is my problem with getting rid of Kelly is they're down to 2 valuable catchers at MLB level. It sucks for Dingler. One catcher get hurt, it's going to suck. No, that's a great point because, I mean, Kelly has done, I mean, in terms of even like defensive numbers, those 2 are among the best in all of baseball. And so there's something to be said about that. And Kelly's been hitting the ball pretty well. I mean, with authority. Of course, we can't forget Jake Rogers' inside the park home run. That was one of the best memes we've seen out there. I'll pull that up a little later. I'll let some. We'll pull it up a little later. But Uper, what is your inside number this week?
Okay, well, first one quick thing. I think Jake Rogers has an option left, which I know they won't do, but that would be an option as well. So anyway, my number 9.964. Very straightforward. What that is the OPS of Justin Henry Malloy over the last 28 days. Okay,
According to Keith Law, by the way, OPS doesn't matter.
Well, you know.
Yeah, I know.
We'll talk about Keith another day. Plus, I'm a lot taller than him, so I'm going to go with my opinion. he's a very diminutive man. But anyway, listen, Malloy came up, and he obviously struggled for a couple of weeks, right? And his numbers weren't great, but they stuck with him. He has started to hit. I'm loving the patience, the quality at bats. He's drawn a couple of walks. He's hitting for a little bit of power. Even when he slowed down a little bit this week, the 2 of his 3 hits were home runs. Going back to last year and all through the offseason, a lot of people worried about where he's going to play. Is he an outfielder? Is he a third baseman? Is he just a DH? Blah, 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 blah. I've said it then. I'll say it now. I'll say it about a lot of players because it works 9 times out of 10. If you can hit, you'll play. Okay? Period. The guy looks like he can hit, and until he stops hitting, I think he's going to play. So it's really good for them. They certainly needed an extra power bat in somewhere in that lineup, and hopefully he continues down that road.
All right. What is yours, Chris?
First, I didn't see that Keith Law thing, but that's interesting. I assume he's talking about OPS not being as good as WOBA.
Yeah, and WRC plus.
No.
Oh, that's probably true, but it is what it is. It's out there.
Yeah, it's good enough to tell you what an offensive player is. My number is 4. And like I said, this is what I was going to talk about earlier, sort of. That is the number of teams in the Florida Complex League that make the playoffs. And it's also the number of innings that the FCL Tigers were played today against the FCL Yankees until the game was canceled. The game was canceled due to weather. And at the time, the FCL Tigers were losing 3-0. And they were 1 game behind the Yankees in the standings. They had to beat them to tie them and possibly go to the playoffs. But by having the game canceled, they finished the year with a winning percentage of .596, which gets them into the playoffs. Had they lost, it would be .586, and they would have been out of the playoffs. So they were saved by weather. And that's a fun one for me and probably a real bummer for the FCL Red Sox and Rays who don't get to go to the playoffs now.
Nah, they'll be fine. FCL the Rays win every year in minor league stuff. They're fine. They're fine. They're fine. All right. So my inside number is involving Wenzel Perez or Wenzel. So Wenzel it's changed, right?
Wenzel Perez.
Wenzel Perez. So his numbers in the second half of the season haven't been exactly, like he is in terms of like how he's been hitting just to kind of start since the All-Star break. But that being said, there was a number that came up to me that really stood out, which is 333, which is his numbers in high leverage situations. And of the home runs he has, of the 7 of the home runs he has, 4 of them were on with runners in scoring position. So against runners in scoring position, he's batting over 300. So 286. 4 of his home runs. Sorry, I said that right. But either way, I think that's a number to be said. I know that he looks like a 4th outfielder. His F4 is over 1. So to me, it's just like, again, little things like that. He does little things in the outfield too. Although that last out today with Cole Keith, like you hear him say, I got it. And Cole Keith was like so zoned out. Apparently he didn't hear him or not. But yeah, it's small. Like I said, he's a player that's effective when he's out there. The everyday player, he has to be seen, but still it's a good number for a guy that gets things done at Wenzel Perez. So as a match.
One thing about Perez, you guys, I know, obviously it's hard to say on TV, but you guys have seen him in person in the minors. It looks to me like he gets a really quality jump on everything in the outfield. I've been very impressed with some of the balls that he has caught that are hit fairly hard in line drives, and he is on those things and saving some extra base hits, I think, for the pitching staff.
I mean, he definitely has the athleticism to the makeup speed to get to the balls. We didn't see him a ton in the outfield. He was still kind of an infielder for a lot of times we saw him, and then we have seen him in the outfield since. But yeah, I mean, I think he seems like a guy who, with the outfield instruction there in Detroit, is learning and improving rapidly in that regard. And and like I said, he's got the physical tools to turn into an above average outfielder, I think. Yeah, he's just a really solid piece of the team. And if you had 5 Winslow Perez's, you'd be doing just fine.
Yeah. Windshield Perez.
Windshield? All right.
Windshield. No, and I like what Steve said. He's just fun. He hustle, positive. He's always just upbeat. He's glad to be here, and it's just good to see that. And part of that whole Tiger rookie movement thing too. And that's another. I'm writing an article about that, the Tiger rookies, a little bit, because after the trade deadline's over, I kind of wanted to examine what we're seeing right now among some of the players. Among some of the, just in terms of just what the Tigers are building up as a core players, and just how we as fans kind of how rare to see this right now, because not often do you see Keith, Perez, Malloy. The Tigers don't really, traditionally speaking, have not had. I mean, think about it from like maybe 2006, but there's just a couple times where they don't really have kind of 3 or 4 guys out there at a time, short of them being over that. And it's competitive baseball. So, I mean, as far as Perez goes, I think the reason why no one's saying that his numbers are not sustainable. He's doing that. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, I mean, we talked about that a little bit like a month ago when he had a WRC plus of 145. We're like, well, this isn't going to last. And it didn't. But what he's doing now, I think, is completely sustainable.
Yeah. He's got a WRC plus over 100.
Yeah. I think he should be in that, 95 to 105 range, maybe bump up to 110, 115 some seasons. He hits a lot of line drives. He doesn't crush the ball, but he knows how to pull it in the air. He's got speed for extra base hits. He works walks. There's a lot to like there. So, and steals bases. It's a very quality player. And to your point, Raj, I was just looking up the dreaded clutch stat on Fangraphs, and he leads the Tigers in clutch rating at 0.63.
There you go.
Matt Vierling, the least clutch hitter in baseball or on the team, according to this, at negative 0.094. Of course, by this measure, Aaron Judge is the least clutch player in baseball. Because all it does is it measures how well you do in high leverage situations compared to how you do in other situations. And when you're really, really good all the time and not hitting home runs in the bottom of the ninth or whatever, then maybe you're not as clutch.
We wouldn't want those 40 unclutch homers.
No, not at all.
I mean,
give me Dalton Varsho, the leader in clutch this year.
There's a thing too where we're talking about the kind of core players. I look at teams. I'm trying to think I can probably we'll go in the article. I'll tease a little bit about it, but essentially you look at the teams from the Tigers in the past, like the 80 through 84, before the Tigers won the World Series, when they're putting that core together, a young core players like that. That's what we're kind of in the middle of seeing right now. And a core of players that could stick together. That's something that we're not used to seeing outside of in terms of players that were developed and drafted by the team. Just want to make that clear, because I have to put that caveat on there, because everything, there's Nick Castellanos and all that. No. There's core players. There's a comment in there that
I love a good emoji comment. It's a wind emoji, a seal emoji, a pear emoji, and an easy. Wind, seal, Perez.
Love it.
No, I mean, that was one of the cool things in the Winslow Perez interview with Dan Dickerson and Jason Benetti, where they were talking about him with Parker Meadows. And I think you talked about it before too, Raj. They've been playing together since 2018.
Yeah.
So they, these guys have been teammates for 6-7 years now. And if they can work out in the big league level too, that'll be all the better.
All right. Let's go in the good, the bad, the ugly this week. All right, Chris, what is your good and bad?
Well, very terrific timing there because my good was going to be the New York Mets, who actually just hit a walk-off single against the Braves. So I can update that the New York Mets have been the best team in baseball since June 1st. They are 30-15 since June 1st. They were 29-15 until this walk-off win. And it's what's kind of wild about it. They have the worst pitching in baseball over that span by F4, 0.4 F4. And they are 30-15 because, they've been just going bonkers on offense. You know, the Tigers at the same time have 22 wins, and it's 4.1 F4. So 10 times as much WAR, 8 fewer wins. It's one of those things. But yeah, like Francisco Lindor has basically been playing like an MVP, hitting 300 with 12 home runs and 12 steals, like 3+ WAR. Jose Iglesias, Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Alvarez, Mark Vientos, all hitting. The New York Mets, the team we like to make fun of all the time, playing really good baseball. Pretty good landing spot for some potential Tigers prospects. I bet you they could use Andrew Chafin if they wanted him. So anyway, my bad, it's not necessarily bad per se. It's Garrett Crochet, who's actually been outstanding this year, right? Came out and said that he does not want to move to the bullpen if he gets traded. Now, most teams have been projecting that because he was a reliever up until this year. You know, he's a college starter, but has very few innings, and most teams would want to shut him down or, you know, have him out of the bullpen. And then he said he won't pitch in October unless he gets a contract extension, which is good. Like, this is good for him. Use your power as a player. You're wanted. That's what I mean. But it's kind of bad for the White Sox, who have one of the best trade chips in the market. You know, it was him and Skubal, right? And
Chicago sucks.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they may be forced into keeping their awesome pitcher. What a shame. Or they'll just trade him to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers will extend him. They won't care. But I mean, I thought that was an interesting.
He said he wouldn't pitch in October. I had not heard that.
Yeah, well, he said, he won't pitch in October without an extension. At least I believe it was Joel Sherman reported that.
That's a ballsy move, but he's got the power. And here's the thing: have you ever heard anybody doing that before?
No. I remember when the Nationals shut down Strasburg, which was dumb. But I mean, that's good for him, I guess, right? Like I said, but it's bad for the White Sox, and maybe it's just a bluff. Who knows? And my ugly is this Mason Miller broke his hand, the Oakland closer. Now, this is another one that kind of messes with the trade deadline, although I don't think they were going to trade him. He's got so much team control left, and it angers other teams because they're like, you don't need a closer. You're terrible. But, they're not going to give him up because he's super valuable. But, broke his pinky finger on his left hand, so he has to go on the injured list. And the first report was that he broke it in anger, like slamming his hand down on the table. It was like, oh, man, what a moron. And then it came out like, no, he just put his hand down in an awkward way, which to me is even worse.
Yeah, how do you put your hand down in an awkward way? I mean, was it like if you're like the edge of the table and you're like this, like, whoa,
yeah, I guess you slip and your pinky goes like, that's bad news.
Hand on the tailpipe.
So, feel bad there for the A's losing their closer for a little bit and losing. If they wanted to, they could have traded him for a pretty big package, but I don't think they were gonna. But just one of those silly things that happens around the trade deadline.
It's like when the Tigers had Mike Henneman, and the Tigers were bad, and they didn't really need Mike Henneman, so they traded him to Texas. So it's almost like, not as much because Miller throws 100 miles an hour and Henneman didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty common, right? When you're a bad team and you have a closer, you trade them. The only difference is that Miller has like 6 years of team control remaining. The Tigers traded Shane Green with 2 years left, I think. And who do they get in that deal? Travis Demerit and Joey Wentz.
Yeah.
Joey Wentz is pissing off more people by the day. Oh boy. All right. Yeah. Those Erod hasn't even pitched this year. All right. See, it went LOL. That's the end. This is gonna happen at some point. Uper, what is your good bad of this week?
Okay, my good. Going into the TV booth. Dan Petrie. I'm gonna be perfectly upfront. In past years, when Dan Petrie would parachute in for a couple innings, I wasn't impressed. I just didn't think he was.
I've always liked Dan Petrie.
He did nothing for me, and which is, I'm not saying he was bad. Just didn't think he was that great. But now, because of the SEMO situation, which we don't need to rehash, And Simo, I was always less is more. I didn't mind the guy, but I didn't like big, long doses of him. And with Gibby being, limited as he is, and I didn't think he had very good chemistry in the early going with Benetti whatsoever. It's kind of painful at times. Dan Petrie's really settled into his job. I've really been enjoying listening to him. I think that now that he's the man most of the time in the booth just with Benetti, and he's not sharing it with Todd Jones, he's not sharing it with Simo. He's just doing the job, kind of following the game from the first inning through the ninth inning instead of just being there for a couple of innings. I think he's really establishing a chemistry with Benetti. I'm sure a lot of that is because of Benetti is really talented at what he does. But I did not think Dan Petrie is going to be a long-term deal. I can see it now. I really enjoy some of the stories he tells. I think he has some insight into pitching. Benetti's good at drawing that out like he was with Steve Stone. So I think from a TV standpoint, things are moving in a decent direction.
By the way,
2 down. If asked, would you do the voiceover for a Tiger Law commercial? Would you do the all we do is win?
I went home because you wanted me to do it. I went home and practiced, and it doesn't sound as good as you.
It doesn't?
No.
by the way, Peaches is he's a constant professional at the ballpark too. Just anytime he's down there, and the reason why I've always liked Dan Petrie is because he is like just a matter of fact. I mean, but it's also just like a wealth of baseball knowledge. I mean, he's done a really good job with Orchard Lake St. Mary's with putting his sons in a really good position over there, and they built themselves a powerhouse. I actually faced it. Well, I did face him as a coach or as a player when his kids when I used to play tournament ball. The guy is just like, it's just weird because you don't think of him as he's always the second man behind Jack Morris, but he went out there, did his thing, and he was just a solid pitcher overall. And, Steve Stone, I think, didn't Stone win the Cy Young at some point? I think
once, yeah,
1980.
once. Yeah, 1980. Yeah, I think with the Orioles, I think he won when he had his wild
25-7 or something.
Yeah, ooh, yeah, for a really good Baltimore team. It was when wins mattered for Cy Young awards. Anywho, I digress. But yeah, he's really good. Go ahead.
I think with the big thing with Petrie again, I'll say I just said it, but I'll say it again. I think the fact that he's there from the first through the ninth and can follow that game and see a storyline through from something that happened in the early innings instead of just being in there for a couple quick innings and saying what you got to say and get the hell out. I think that makes for a way better broadcast too. So hopefully that continues. My bad. I think since we were last on the show, it's been a while. Reese Olson went out, Olson, and with Mize slowly coming back, it's so interesting to read what a lot of people are saying. Like, how can you trade Flaherty or how could you trade Skubal when you don't have any starters and so on and so forth? So it's unfortunate, the Tigers just have this rash of injuries, putting a lot of people, on edge on what they're going to do with the starting rotation as we go on. And we were just talking about how many bullpen days they can sustain. I think that we're probably going to see Flaherty get dealt. I would say there's probably a less than 10% chance Skubal gets dealt, and this becomes kind of a non-story because they just go with Maeda. Eventually, they probably get Mize back in there. So, but it was really a bummer to see Olson go down. I know they're saying it might not be that bad, but boy, anytime you're talking shoulder, it's iffy. We just don't know where that's going to go over the next few weeks. It's going to be interesting to see. And my ugly, you guys just mentioned a little while ago, the White Sox, they lost today. They are here on July the 26th, 51 games under 500, 27-78. That is the definition of ugly. Boom.
Oh, well, that's embarrassing.
Let's do a little math real quick.
Yeah, let's do some. Yeah,
they are 27-78.
Yep.
That is a winning percentage of what now? Let's see. 257. 257. All right. Let's see.
Ooh, man.
Let's see. Oh, it's a 41.6 win pace. 41.6 win pace they're on right now.
And they might lose Crochet and Luis Robert.
They could take the 2003 Tigers out of their misery. Mike Maroth will show up, throw out the first pitch. It'd be good.
All right. So my good is Dylan Cease throwing the no-hitter for the Padres today. So that was something that's only the second team no-hitter team history, I believe it is. Musgrove was the first one to do it. So that was really good because you look at and it's kind of somewhat NL West theme. These next two of my three good and bad and ugly are NL West teams. So my bad are the San Francisco Giants, who, I mean, outside they did get Robbie Ray back, but I mean, it doesn't really help them that they've lost 5 of their last 7, and they are going down into just getting out of the playoff race quite a bit. I don't think they were going to go there anyway with that. So, and the ugly this week is a very weird. And look, we are, as far as like, it's one of those things where I'm just like, I'm not sure what. Sometimes I kind of wonder what Keith Oldman is doing. So apparently, and this is we don't get into politics on the show because that's not. Is it? We're escaped from that. It's the only time I'm over it. But apparently, he's calls compensate or to take away the Cardinals franchise. He accused them of a Trump celebration, and Matt Carpenter denied it was a whole thing. I think the whole idea of taking away a franchise is stupid anyways. I mean, Donald Sterling side, which was weird, but the whole thing is like, I feel like Keith Olbermann was just doing it to get in the news. I just felt like that was the whole thing.
That was, I don't know. Like Keith Olbermann, I used to love him on SportsCenter, right? Like that was the golden era. You couldn't do any sports broadcast better than he and Dan Patrick did. Then he went off and did his political stuff, and then we're like, fine, whatever. You have the dumbest person in the world or whatever. But yeah, he's just kind of an insane person now. Yeah. It happens to everybody who does this, makes this transition into politics. They just go nuts eventually. It's a terrible world. I don't want to live in it. But yeah, like I don't like, even if they were celebrating, right? We've talked about this before. Like, are you shocked that professional baseball players are fans of this particular side of the political spectrum, given where most of them come from? And it's I don't know, it's silly. And the less I see Keith Olbermann, the better.
I mean, whatever your politics are, it's fine. I don't care either way. But it's also, I just say it's funny. It's why do that in the first place? Just so you can get some sort of attention with it. Yeah, outrage equals engagement. Thank you, Dylan.
Absolutely.
That's perfect. Spot on with that.
Maybe he could get back on a show with Stephen A. Smith or something like that. That was the Skip Bayless formula, right?
Yeah.
You say something outrageous and then you argue about it for 2 hours. So what do we got here?
Apparently my dog wanted to be on the podcast. So
Lulu.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So I gotta. Yeah.
It's the dog cast.
Sorry, I don't mean that. She was like literally the entire time on my tripping on my heel, nipping on my heels there. There she is. Oh, good girl. Okay, so the other part of the ugly was I wanted to mention this too, that the Diamond is making substantial progress on Comcast kind of thing. And just one of those things where it's like either make the deal or not already. And it seems like it's going on. I'm glad they're coming to a deal towards the end of the baseball season. That's smart, right? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, it's weird that they could just, like, this could just happen. Like, oh no, you just can't watch baseball. I mean, obviously, I've done some workarounds on my own, but and other people can too. But it's been dumb the whole time, and I feel for people who don't, have the technological wherewithal to find illegal streaming sites and watch the games that they want.
Yeah. I just want, by the way, okay, that's just a shut up and dribble argument all over again. Okay, and that's it for the good, bad, and the ugly for this week. So, it's just It's a weird week, like with the trade deadline too. It was a weird headline that stood out to me among everything else that was going on in the trade deadline. Did she get a blanket too? Jeez, well, Pete, look at this. This dog. She's a little thrown and everything. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, we skipped past Skubal earlier.
I did that for a reason.
What do you guys think?
We did that for a reason, because I wanted to save the best for last.
Ah, okay. Very good. Where do you think we are? What's at the end of the day, day after the trade deadline, where is he?
In the Tigers dugout somewhere, hanging out.
Yeah, let's see. Where are the Tigers the day after the trade deadline?
They're at home.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere, man. Like, I hit this from every side and got yelled at from every side. We rewrote what I thought was a completely reasonable history-based trade package for Skubal, and Orioles fans were super upset that it was too much, and Tigers fans were upset that it wasn't enough. And then I wrote, okay, well, this is what I think the Tigers are actually asking for, which was an absurd overpay for Baltimore, and it got tossed around Orioles Twitterverse, and everybody thought I was on crack. They didn't read my second sentence, because 2 sentences is too hard to read, where I said the Orioles will never do this, so let's stop talking about it. But I mean, that's one of the like everybody. Everybody's written a Skubal trade piece. It's been like a daily topic on MLB Network, but it's going to be much ado about nothing. They're not going to trade him.
I would tend to agree. I put the under 10% chance that he gets moved. And I think really the only team that really can do it is Baltimore, and that's to Detroit's detriment. But Detroit needs to set the high price. It needs to be an agonizing decision if Baltimore really wanted to do it. But sadly, I just don't know if Baltimore is the type of team that really feels the need. I would bet they'll go out and they'll do one of the rental pitchers and probably call it a day, and hopefully those young guys can carry them through the playoffs, the ones that they have on board already. So, but Detroit, they have to, with 2.5 years of control left, they have to set a massive price and make it an agonizing trade for the other team, because they're not a fair trade means nothing, right? If they walk away, oh, that was fair. Who cares? Keep Skubal.
Yeah. No, and Dan said something here, because you mean Harris won't. He said, I don't think Scott Harris can survive moving Tarik Skubal. And I think what Dan means by that, and I see what he's talking about, is if he trades Tarik Skubal and they don't get like some of those players, like the Kobe Mayos, those players that will literally change your franchise, Jackson Holiday, then he's gone. I mean, what you're doing is essentially just saying you're what we haven't seen from Harris. I mean, here's the thing. People are saying, well, Harris hasn't done a lot. He hasn't done a lot of trading, but the trades he has done, Hao-Yu Lee gives the Tigers another option at second base. There's a win right there for that. Matt Verling, you can say what you will, but Matt Verling is second on the team home runs, and it's been serviceable. He can play whatever position they need him to. I mean, as far as Nick Maton goes and Donnie Sands, it's whatever. It is what it is. And you're just pretty much those two. Yeah. But then look at Jan. That was the first trade he made. He's coming into his own, becoming a better hitter. And now he's just got to figure out defensively where you're going to put him at some point. Does he go, again, there's always that question whether you're going to play first or not. So overall, he hasn't done bad on that. I mean, but Tyler said it perfectly. Get some bold. Show some cojones. Show the cojones. I mean, get some huevos, man. Like, do it. Like, put your big point, step away from your khaki pants, which everybody wears. Tigers organization is an organization full of khaki pants. Put some jeans, put some Wrangler jeans on, get comfortable, let your sack hang out, and make a trade. Make a trade that's bold like that. I'm just saying, like, I don't see them ever wearing jeans. And if they're wearing jeans, it's probably with a blazer, because that's what they do.
I know it's boring to just throw out names, a yes or no, but if they got Holiday, Mayo, Povich, is that a yes?
Yes.
Yes.
I think so too.
Absolutely. Like, that's the thing. Like, there are. Yeah, if you get two of their big three, I would think they would do that. knowing that one of them probably isn't going to work out or just going to be average. And Povich, they brought up Chase McDermott, who I've liked since we saw pitching for Bowie.
Yeah,
he came over, I think, from the Astros originally. Yeah, but I don't think that seems reasonable to most Tigers fans. I don't think Mike Elias will do that.
Right.
And that's just
but
the way
Detroit
it is.
can't settle for a B. This can't be. I mean, Skubal with 2.5 years of control, it means they have 3 more trade deadlines with him, including this one, and 2 more off seasons to move him, get something, right? But now is when they could possibly get the home run, the bonanza. But with all that, with 2 more trade deadlines and 2 off seasons to go after this next week, he's not going to lose half his value, right? I mean, you can still go out and get a really nice trade this winter if you want to, as long as he stays healthy, obviously. So settling for a B, there's no reason to do that, especially in a year where the team's not going anywhere really. They need to shoot for the moon, and if they don't get it, they don't get it, and I think that's fine.
Yeah, people. I keep thinking about the Phillies as like a really dark horse, just because we know that Dave Dombrowski has done things like this before. Now you don't look at their pitching as being a big issue, but he's never not wanted an ace on his team, and he would be one of the guys who would be willing to go, you know what? I'll give you a couple prospects, and here's Christopher Sanchez. we just signed him to an extension. Here's another good pitcher who's a big league writer right now. We'll give you him. We'll take the ace. Or
Dombrowski is also he's not shy of bringing a third team into the trade either.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And the Phillies have some interesting prospects, but they're all young, like lower levels, which I don't think is what the Tigers want. But yeah, I don't know. I would never put anything past him. They could use Chapin too.
I think Mike Alice has the balls to do it, and he doesn't have to go on this either. Some of the comments of the pants here, it did go leather village people at YMCA pants, assless chaps, yogurt pants. I don't know what yogurt pants are, or yoga. If you meant yoga pants, some Lululemon pants. Oh God, yeah. No, but no, I was also laughing because a friend of the show just tweeted us or made a comment about Max Clark highlight, and Chris, take a look at it when you get a chance. But
I have to.
I was laughing about that. Anyway, no, I think the reason why I think Tarik Skubal will stay here is cut off jean shorts. There we go. That's another one too. I gotta really stop reading the comments during the show. I think. Steve, actually, that's a really good idea. He does. Steven says in the chat he does a spreadsheet every year of who the Tigers can trade and estimate who they got in return. I was really conservative for my Flaherty return because the reason why I don't like doing those trade pieces sometimes is because no matter what you say or no matter what you do, it's not going to be like, "Oh, why are you asking for this?" It's because I try to keep it in a realm of realism. Because, I mean, there's some sites out there that are like, well, why don't you ask for number one prospect? Do you really think the team's going to do that? Like, Dylan Rushing, yes, he's number one pipeline according to MLB Pipeline. However, the Dodgers, depending on where you get your information changed. So, I think you have to look at it as much as you have to look at it from take off your fan perspective for a moment and realize, too, like what the teams are giving up with some of these prospects, like club control for 6+ years. People that are just in case of an injury, do they have enough depth to do that? And so I think Baltimore has in a unique position because I think Baltimore and Boston is sneaky deep. Like Boston's really deep. Like that's a system right there. Like you look at Kyle Teal, for example. I remember Chris was just talking about how the suggestion for the Tigers are, oh my God, no way. And then he's pretty much ready at Double A. I mean, he looks really good for Portland.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good catcher. So you look at Boston, you look at a team like that, and you look at a team like Toronto. And the reason why I mentioned the Blue Jays here, imagine being a Blue Jays fan right now, right? Your team's out of playoff contention. Your farm system kind of sucks. You're not sure really what the future is. But you're also not gonna any request to trade. Like, are you gonna really trade Bichette because he's having a down season? No. unless you get something amazing in return. Same thing with Aguero Jr., who doesn't want to go anywhere. He wants to stay in Toronto. But imagine Toronto. You're just sitting there like a kid in the ring, like you're inside grounded. All your friends, like, on the, like, Boston's considering trading. New York's considering it. Tampa's going to be trading. And you're Toronto just sitting there with pretty much your dick in your hand, essentially. Another way to put it.
Yeah.
So, if the Tigers were healthy right now, they would have been a buyer right now. If the Tigers also didn't get crap production from Spencer Torkelson, they would be in a better position right now. Honestly, their offense early on, the offensive struggles really hurt this team. Tyler, I'm with you, by the way, about Toronto. He says he doesn't understand the hate the Rogers Centers get. He likes it, plus their fans are so friendly. The only thing I will say about Rogers Center is when the roof is closed, it does seem a little weirder. It's just not as – I know they did some changes in there, but I love Toronto. Toronto's one of my favorite cities I've ever been to. I love Toronto. I absolutely love Toronto. Saw the replacements there when they first got back together too. So, and Javier Baez sucking at shortstop also really doesn't help.
Yeah, one of the things I don't know if we talked about was it the MLB was doing the rival series next year, right? And then there were there were some national people were like, the famous rivalry between the Tigers and the Blue Jays, the fight over the Great Lakes. And I was like, you guys don't remember that there actually was a pretty damn good rivalry in the 80s between these two teams. No question. If you go to Comerica when the Blue Jays are there, things get a little feisty with all those drunken Canucks from Windsor and other parts of Canada coming to mix things up and root on their team.
And Maple Leafs fans are the same way when they come and play. When they used to play Joe Louis, it got really feisty there. The one thing about Blue Jay fans that I will say about anything else this is unique to Toronto. This is unique to Blue Jay fans. When they were a Lugnuts affiliate, there was numerous fans I talked to that would go to every single minor league stop as part of their vacation. Mm-hmm. So they go to New Hampshire. They would spend a week not just like a day or two. They spent a week in Lansing, going to games. And this is before the 6-game thing happened and all that. They would spend a whole week in Lansing just hanging out before the 3-game series with the Lugnuts or whoever the Lugnuts were playing at the time. The Toronto Blue Jays fans Toronto fans, sports fans, period. When the Raptors won, the Blue Jays Toronto's a very good sports city. And Doyle Alexander versus Jimmy Keefe, the 87 title, the MVP that should have won, Alan Trammell should have won over George Bell. That right there, debate. Tony Fernandez being a constant pain in the rest in peace, by the way, Tony Fernandez, pain in the ass to the Tigers in the 80s. Like that guy always hit even when he was with the Yankees too. I think when he was with the Yankees, always a notorious Tiger killer. But I love Tony Fernandez. I respect his game a lot. He was such a good player, fun player to watch. But as a kid, he was one of my favorite non-Tiger. I hated him, but also at the same time, I was like, mad respect. So, no, I think that's a right. No one cares that the Pirates, the Tigers play the Pirates. No one can give a shit. Sorry. If anybody out there who's a Pittsburgh fan, whatever, I don't think the Tigers give a shit. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I that was the one that we're always trying to force. So I'd much rather see the Blue Jays. It makes more sense. And now that they're falling apart, that's all right. Tigers have had some fun games with the Blue Jays this year.
Yeah, so we will be doing a trade deadline show. We're not going to be doing our show on Thursday. Well, I mean, we probably will, but what I'm saying is trade deadline special immediately after the game on Tuesday as the Tigers schedule. I think the Tigers are playing in the evening that day, I believe. I'll double check that. Yeah, I believe they're playing it. So let me triple check that. So the deadline is Tuesday, and they're playing. Actually, I'm sorry, they're playing at 1:00. So yeah, we will be going on air probably in the middle of the afternoon after that because the trade deadline is at 6:00. So after like maybe 6:30 or so, we'll be immediately following the trade deadline. We'll be going on air. So Uper, if you can get on early, that'd be really appreciated. Chris, same thing. Mike right now is in Indianapolis going to a concert of some sort. I'm not sure who's playing, but that's where Mike is this evening. But also we'll be doing they'll be doing as prospects come in, we'll probably add a prospect angle to it too. So there'll be some extra content over at TigersMLReport.com. I guarantee you we'll have a scouting report pretty much up. Speaking of scouting reports, by the way, if you go to TigersMLReport.com, we have the first 2 picks up in Owen Hall and Bryce Rayner. So if you go to our website, those are there for your convenience. Our top 30 is going to be changing probably in the next week or 2, if not sooner than that. Once the Tigers finalize their signings, I'm sorry, Chris.
Yeah, no, I mean they announced that Scheffelbein they've signed. We don't have a dollar amount on that yet, but he's and then we're just waiting on Zach Swanson, their 9th rounder, and then maybe some of the guys from the 11th, 20th round. Yeah. I would think that at least 4, if not 5 players from this draft will end up in our top 30 now.
Yeah.
I think the kid who was the high school kid who was the 15th round pick signed today.
No. It's Seibert. No, he didn't.
No, Zach something.
Swanson? No.
I don't have it in front of me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything.
Well, they took a high school shortstop in the 12th round, Jude Warwick. They took a high school pitcher in the 19th round, I think. That's Chase Davis, not to be confused with the other Chase Davis from Chase Davisville. Yeah, I thought I don't know. I missed the other one. I thought that they announced Scheffelbein.
I may have this totally wrong. I should have said anything. Sorry.
No worries. So,
yeah, we got a question there. Is Rayner going to Lakeland? Bryce Rayner going to Lakeland? Seems unlikely to me.
Yeah.
We did see Max Clark and Kevin McGonigal go to Lakeland late last year. I think in September for a week or so, maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But they had also played, I want to say, 20 games, 15 games in the Florida Complex League, which is now basically ending. The playoffs are this weekend. There will be probably backfield games going on, so maybe they'll see enough from Rayner to push him and get him in some game action, but I'm guessing we won't see him. I'm hoping to see him tomorrow. I'm heading down to Comerica I think they're introducing him, maybe get some BP from him, so that'll be fun. But we'll see what happens.
Did you get approved, by the way? You're good to go?
I actually haven't checked my email to see if I'm good to go or not. They've never not approved me. So yeah. I don't know. I'll go down there and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll get approved. I'll be going to Erie tomorrow to watch Jackson Jobe pitch as maybe Saturday. But if, like I said, if you feel like donating a couple bucks towards that, there is the donate tab right there. Thanks to you thanks to people who've donated. Like I said, this is just easier than do the super chat thing.
I was approved. Sorry. 9:45 this morning. I was approved. I just didn't check my email.
All right, sweet. So there we go. See, I knew you'd be approved.
Yeah.
But yeah, donations to the website. Go to the link right there on PayPal. That Aloha shirt looks pretty sweet. I have a couple of. It's funny. When I was younger, when I was skinnier, I was a Hawaiian shirt guy. As I got chubbier, I stopped wearing them. Now they're in. I got a bunch of like Cuban shirts. I forgot the name of them, but like these. They call them Cuban shirts, but those are like bowling style shirts anyway. But I'll be out there for Erie for Jackson Jobe only because the pitching matchup tomorrow is going to be pretty good, pretty good. And so we always try to split squads, and hopefully the next homestand for West Michigan, I'll be there for that. I did not get a chance to go this week, looking forward to that. And also we're due to go to Toledo again. It's been a while, but the donations have been, like I said, been very, very, when they've been there, they come in clutch. And so thank you again. We really appreciate it. And thank you for watching this evening. And Tuesday trade deadline special. Stay tuned with us at 6:00, 6:01 sharpish or so. And we'll be breaking down any trade that comes through. And and somebody mentioned earlier, I think it was Corey mentioned that it feels like Tigers have played Cleveland a lot. And it does for 10 straight games straight. And it's continuing the whole AL Central theme. So, and then after that, they play the White Sox. So we'll see how the rotation looks. Because somebody asked me earlier, I think it was somebody asked earlier about how's the rotation going to look. I have no idea. And this is going to be one of those things where it's like,
it feels false to call it a rotation now.
Yeah.
It's like, you're like, jump rope skipping, something like that. Yeah. It's not a rotation. It's who knows what's going to happen there. I mean, it would have been nice if some of the other pitching prospects weren't completely collapsing in AAA. But as you said, Lockhart had a monster night tonight, and if they were waiting to see something else out of him, I don't know what else you need to see.
Yeah. My prediction is he comes up with the team next week. That's my prediction. Either him or they, for reason they look at something metric that we don't know about, some secret metric about Ty Madden, and they bring him up. No, I'm just joking. That would be.
Is
that would be
Brian
something
Salmons a no-go?
Pardon me?
Brian Salmons. We could see Brian Salmons.
Yeah.
I think Lockhart has a better chance of sticking.
Yes.
But sometimes they bring guys up because they don't worry about them sticking. I think that's the Bly Madras situation, right? I don't think they particularly care when they have to send him back down that they might lose him. Not to be mean, and he had a nice game today, but that's just one of those situations. So they may go with Salmons, they may go with Lockhart, they may go with Madden. It would be stunning. Can't remember the last time somebody with like a 9 ERA in AAA and a non-insignificant amount of innings got called up. But
and with those splits like that too.
Desperate times, I suppose.
Yep. Until then, everybody have a good weekend. We'll see you Tuesday. Have a good night.